And welcome into the 6th episode of Elite Heat on Dynamite on 34th Street. I am flying solo tonight. Doug apparently felt his family was more important than talking to you about wrestling. He has his decisions. They aren't good ones, but here we are. So let's get into it. We began with Orange Cassidy and Takeshita kicking off the show, and also Takeshita wins. He's into the semifinal of the Continental Classic. I thought it was very smart having an Orange Cassidy come out, and he's going for pins a whole bunch right out of the gate. I thought it made a lot of sense of this is a guy that needs a win to stay alive. I guess he's technically still alive, but as they said on commentary, he needs some help. He needs some help to move on in the tournament. And if you've read the spoilers, well, you know how that turns out for him. But I thought it was smart to have him going for wins early. Commentary, I thought, made a good point of the longer it goes, the more it favors Takeshita, and that is what happened. Good finish on this one, I thought, with a bunch of back and forth kind of frantic action there at the end, especially as they were getting close to the time limit draw. So I thought that was all pretty good. I really thought Orange Cassidy was going to break his ankle when he did the Slumdog Millionaire from the top rope. That the way he landed, I thought, ooh boy, that could have gone real bad. But otherwise, I mean, this is a good match. Takeshita and Orange Cassidy were really good. I think it underscored again something that we talked about last week of I kind of forgot Orange Cassidy was in the tournament, and I certainly didn't realize how close to the top of the leaderboard he is or was before tonight. I guess he still is. Which is just kind of interesting. I like the Continental Classic. I know we had one person comment on TikTok that they think it's the worst time of the year, which is fine. I get it. The tournaments aren't for everybody. But for me, I like it. I thought that they've done a good job with it. We'll talk more about it because obviously this show was pretty Continental Classic match heavy, as, you know, most of the show, well, as the shows kind of had to be in the lead up to the semifinal and the final happening this weekend at World's End. After that, we get the Gabe Kidd, apparently I can't say that, Gabe Kidd promo where he challenges Darby. I do think the video package was a smart move because it showed their history. Because honestly, if you had just had him do it talking to the mic or even a backstage interview, or even if he'd done it in the ring, I would have gone, I don't really understand why Gabe Kidd and Darby, other than to get Darby on World's End, and Gabe Kidd is sort of affiliated with the Death Riders, I guess, to keep that feud going. But the video package helped. It showed all the different times that those two have done various terrible things to each other. So it makes some sense, and I'm sure the match will be, well, it's probably at some point going to get uncomfortable at World's End, but we will talk about that this weekend. After that, we get the Bang Bang Gang challenging FTR to the rematch at World's End, which Doug absolutely called. They're running it back, and we did get the stipulation that we thought we would get. I don't think either of us called the Chicago street fight, but we thought either it's going to be something to prevent outside interference or screw it, no rules, let's throw down. And that's what we're getting. Screw it, no rules, let's throw down. My theory, if you listened to last week's episode, and if you haven't, you should go back and listen to it. Thank you very much. Basically is that there's a chance now that Jay White is healthy, right? Because now there's nothing to stop him from interfering. Same thing with Colton Gunn. One or maybe both of those guys might be healthy now and might get involved in it. Or we're just going to do a street fight because, hey, why not? Why not up the ante when you're talking about running it back and doing the rematch? I'm fine with it. I liked their first match. I think it's going to be good. I don't know if they'll even get into the ring or if they'll just do it all in the parking lot. I don't know. We're going to find out. But I'm sure it'll be good on Saturday, and I expect FTR is going to retain unless the rest of the Bang Bang Gang comes back and gets involved. Then we go to Roddy Strong and Mascara Dorada, which was fine. I'll give commentary a lot of credit here. I thought they did a good job of putting over that the match still matters, even though Roddy Strong has 0 points in the Continental Classic and had been mathematically eliminated for a week. I mean, I know Mascara Dorada was still in it, and they're talking about like, well, he really needs the win, blah, blah, blah. He gets it. Yeah, he's still in the hunt, but this is kind of going back to what we talked about last week. If you listened again, if you haven't, you should, or watch on YouTube, or both. I feel like this Continental Classic has really been entirely about one or two specific Death Riders in Moxley and Pac. And then it's just been all about the Don Callis family. It's been about those three guys, Okada, Takeshita, and Fletcher. And again, if you have read the spoilers, and I'm going to try really hard not to completely tip it here, but if you've read the spoilers of what we're going to get at World's End for the semifinals and the final, then, well, I wasn't wrong. I guess that's a spoiler, but I wasn't wrong. So I will tell you, it's a combination of, we know Takeshita's in, right? Because he won against, we just talked about it, against Orange Cassidy earlier tonight. We knew that put him in. The other three guys comes from that group of dudes that I mentioned. So this match didn't carry a lot of weight with me. It was just like, okay, let's see if you guys can put something together that entertains me. And you know what? Let me say, for the most part, they did. I like Roddy Strong in the ring. I just don't think that he's got... I just don't think he's got the brightest future. I think what you're seeing him do now is probably what he's going to always do. He'll put on some good matches. We're going to mostly try to keep him away from the mic. I don't know how many stories of consequence he's going to be involved in from here through the rest of his time at AEW, whatever that may look like. But, this wasn't bad. This really wasn't. Felt a little off to me at one point in the middle. Felt like the timing was off a little bit. I'm not sure what happened there. I don't know if Roddy got moving too fast or if Dorada slowed down, and I don't know. But there was a little bit of a timing issue in the middle. This is me being nitpicky, but that's what I do. If you listen to the show, I be nitpicking stuff. I do think that there is some storytelling potential here with Roddy taking the 0 in the Continental Classic, because I don't think he wrestles on Collision. I don't recall that being on the card, so he took the 0. Maybe they do something with that, and maybe they don't. We'll find out. I don't know what you do with it. I know that kind of something similar happened with Mark Briscoe in the first Continental Classic, and that really helped launch him into what he is now in AEW. I'm not sure Roddy Strong has that in him because he's not as strong of a promo as Mark Briscoe is. I think he's better in the ring, not by a lot, but I think he's better. But again, he's just not the talker Mark Briscoe is, so I don't know what this could launch him into. Probably this could be where he finally officially disengages, or whatever you want to call it, from the conglomeration and goes out on his own, and that could lead to something, right? Maybe that gets him a national championship match against Ricochet, or maybe it gets him I don't know if they ever I don't know what's going to happen with the Continental Classic, because I guess if Okada does not win, the unified championship is no longer a thing, right? Which would then mean the international championship would come back on the scene. So maybe Roddy can get into that. I think he had it for a little bit, didn't he? Maybe if he turns heel, maybe that leads to him and Mark Briscoe doing something, which that could be interesting. But I don't know. I just feel like you've got a guy that took a 0. You should do something with it. I just don't know what. And then we got the Statlander and Jamie Hayter interview on the stage there. And I like Kris Statlander. I was glad when she won the championship. I don't know that this is going to go down as the greatest title reign for anybody in AEW history. I feel like the matches are good. Her promo work was getting better, and I feel like she's somehow taken a step back. She wasn't good tonight, and I don't know why. I don't know what happened there, but she was not great tonight. Jamie Hayter said very little and upstaged her with the 2 sentences that she said. I thought it was weird to block the punch and then they just jaw mostly at each other. I thought they probably should have gone ahead and thrown down on the stage there. But I'll say this, even though this match headed into World's End, this title match doesn't have a ton of juice with me personally, doesn't have a ton of heat with me. I'm not bought in emotionally to the story that they're telling here. I think it's going to be a good match. So I guess at the end of the day, that's really all I care about. And, they're going to have to deliver at World's End. Otherwise, we're going to start talking about, like, I don't know if putting the belt on Statlander was the best idea. I still think right now, it was a good idea. World's End is going to determine a lot about if I continue to feel that way this time next week. After that, MJF took on a jobber. My wife went, well, that was fast. Yeah, I don't know what the point of him squashing a jobber was. I know he's got to get back in the ring to get, the timing and get the ring rust off before Saturday. I do get that. I think you still could have had him take on somebody that we knew who they were further down the card. But okay. So he took on a jobber. I will say this. I thought what followed was pretty good. Not great, but pretty good. I like Hangman and Swerve in the rafters with the chain. I like this. I like the visual of it. Clearly they do too, because we keep doing it, but I like the visual of it. I thought Hangman's part of the promo was good. I thought his was very good, right? We're going to call out Max for all the cliche stuff that he does. I thought Joe's promo, and if you listen past episodes, I hold Joe in very high regard. I think he's one of the best talkers in the game. It was okay. It was fine. Like it wasn't his best work. I didn't understand when he was like, I'm going to hunt you one by one. I thought that would have been a much more impactful line 3 weeks ago when he would have 3 weeks to take them out one by one. I guess he means in the match, but I don't know how you would do that in a 4-way match, and maybe we're going to find out on Saturday. But overall, I thought his part was fine. Swerve stumbled a little, which is rare for him, but at the end of the day, those 3 dudes talking is never really a bad thing. I did enjoy Hangman just sitting there with the chain around Max's neck while Swerve is talking to him, and Max having to sell like he's getting choked out while Hangman is basically not moving. And when I say I like that, I genuinely liked it. I thought it was, I don't know if they meant for it to play as like, look how strong Hangman is. I don't know what they were shooting for there. I enjoyed it though. I enjoyed the visual. I do have questions about how this thing is going to end. And it's the same thing with the Continental Classic, and I'll put a bow on this at the end because I think I'll do some quick predictions for Saturday when we get to the end of this one. But if you've listened, my thought has been, last week I was saying Max is going to win. Like, you're going to put it on MJF, and those 3 dudes, Joe and Hangman and Swerve, are going to chase, and that's probably where the money is. Although Doug and I have said repeatedly that we would like very much for them to spin Hangman and Swerve off to a proper tag team and have them chase the tag belts. And they did lay some seeds for that tonight. There is still some potential for that. But I want to pull up, we got a really good comment on TikTok, which, by the way, you can follow us. TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, all that stuff at Elite Heat Pod. It is linked in the notes in the description. Wherever you are listening or watching this, we have links to all our social media, so give us a follow if you would. So I want to shout out Big Z, who left this comment. I want MJF to win it. However, I think Joe is retaining simply because I feel it's too soon for him to lose the belt. I think MJF and Swerve get into it all match, and Hangman eats the pin to Joe. MJF then gets into a feud with all 3, starting with Swerve and ending with Joe finally becoming champ in a few months. Well, I'll be damned if that doesn't make a whole lot of sense right there, Big Z. So good job. And now you may have talked me into that. I am now coming around on, I think Joe might retain. My thought initially was just that you don't have clear automatic challengers lined up for whoever wins, and you can't keep running 4-man matches back, right? But what Big Z laid out there makes a lot of sense. So if Joe retains and we split Max off into a program with Swerve, and then, I don't know, maybe Joe defends at Revolution against Hangman, because you can do the whole thing of like, no, it was supposed to be you and me one-on-one. Although if Hangman eats the pin, that's going to be a little bit tougher of a sell. But maybe you swap it. Maybe it's Swerve and Joe, and then Hangman and Max do a thing, and then Max moves on to Swerve. I don't know. But I think that's a really interesting idea that Big Z laid out there. So what I will say, as I've said a lot on this show, is I'm not entirely certain how to call this one, and that is a good thing. It makes Saturday night really, really interesting and really intriguing. After that, Babes of Wrath interview. I get it. You want to put the tag champs on TV, and I get it that I guess you need to do something to talk about why they're going to defend on Collision and have them kind of talk about the title match at World's End. Like, I get all that. I just thought this one was kind of weird. And I get it that that's kind of part of the gimmick, especially for Harley. But I didn't get the whole, like, I need a hype up thing. I don't know. It was interesting. Maybe this is going to be the gimmick, right? Like, they're just going to radiate positivity, and that's the gimmick. And okay. I mean, okay, sure. Let's go with it. We've gone with stranger gimmicks, but it left me scratching my head a little bit, but in no way diminished what I think about the Babes of Wrath, or, you know, me thinking that it's going to be a good match at World's End between them and Mercedes and Athena. So I guess we just move on. Okay, so then we went to Ricochet versus Bandido for the Dynamite Diamond Ring. I still think it's weird to have the ending of a battle royal be two guys, and then we move into this. It was a good match. I enjoyed the match. I thought there were a couple of really cool spots. I liked the twist on the Three Amigos that Bandido did, where it finished on the floor. That was my move of the night until we got to the main event. But, you know, it was a good match. I get it that there are stakes for your getting your title shot. I just think the ring, I don't know. I just don't know how I feel about the ring gimmick, especially putting it on a baby face who's not going to use it the way Max uses it. And Max still has like 6 of them or something. So it's not like he's not going to show up with it. You know what I mean? It was fine. Like, the match was fine. It got Bandido his title shot in 2-3 weeks, whatever it is. The only other thoughts I had on this was I like the Vertigo better as a finisher for Ricochet than the Spirit Gun. I've never liked the Spirit Gun as a finisher. I don't buy it as this move that knocked somebody out. I like Vertigo better. I think it's a better looking move for that. He should consider switching. Probably not gonna, but he should. Also, some really creative offense in this one, especially that Styles clash that then got twisted into a bomb. That was impressive. That was some impressive defying of physics there. And the only other thing I wrote down was Bandido winning makes me think a heel wins at World's End, which I've thought all along, but now I'm thinking a little bit more it might be Joe. Because I can see them setting this up as Joe is just going to, well, you know, it's the chant. Joe is going to kill you, right? Joe is going to kill Bandido because he's so much bigger, but Bandido puts on a good show, and ultimately Joe probably retains, and that's how we head to Revolution. But good match. I liked Bandido coming out wearing Brody King's entrance gear too. I thought that was fun. Then we got the Darby interview. Kind of weird. I guess that's maybe he officially accepts the match on Collision. I don't know, but Gabe stalking up behind him, and then I wrote down throwing Darby down the stairs this close to just getting cleared medically again is probably not the best idea, but Darby does crazy things like that. As we've talked about a lot on the show, the dude's not going to be able to walk by the time he's 45. I thought the little camera effect where they made it like staticky, like it got broke, was a little on the cheesy side, but whatever. Again, that's me nitpicking. And so now I assume we're getting Gabe Kidd and Darby at World's End, which, like I said before, will be uncomfortable in some way, I'm sure. Then we went to Marina versus Mina, which just having those two in the same sentence can be confusing. So Marina Shafir versus Mina Shirakawa. Doug is absolutely right about this. I like the idea of Marina Shafir better than I like actual Marina Shafir. I thought it was interesting that she ate a bunch of offense in this one. Mina Shirakawa, I thought, looked quite good. The sling blade off the top rope was really creative, I thought. That was a cool looking move. I wasn't at all surprised that Marina won. It feels to me like they're kind of trying to build her up a little bit. I think it would make more sense to build her in the tag team with Megan Bayne rather than trying to build her on her own right now. I think you can make her look better and protect some of her weaknesses better by having her tag with Megan Bayne. But at the end of the day, one of the rants that I have gone on when it comes to the Death Riders is it's done nothing to help her, and it feels like now maybe we're starting to help her a little bit and elevate her up the card. So other than that, I don't have a lot to say. I don't really understand what I guess I just don't understand what the program is here, because it sort of seems like both Toni Storm and and Mira, their names are too close. And Mira Shirakawa, I still messed it up. Mina Shirakawa are both mad at Marina Shafir, but Megan Bayne doesn't really seem to factor into this, so it doesn't feel to me like a tag match has come in. So I don't understand where we're going with it. And I guess maybe it's going to be Marina Shafir and Toni Storm at World's End. They might make that on Collision, just to get Toni on the card. I don't know. This one feels a little bit weird to me in terms of storyline, but I think that if you get Megan Bayne involved and you do tag matches between them to help build Megan Bayne and Marina Shafir as a team, then okay, it was probably worth it. After that, we got the backstage where the Young Bucks announced that they are quote unquote out. Now, if you follow us on social media, one of the things I put out from last week was us talking about, man, the Bucks are incredible. They're still doing this stuff at their age and after the beating they've taken. And then it's like, oh yeah, no, they're out for the rest of the year. Now, what I put when I posted it was, I'm almost positive this is a work just to get them time off, to let them spend, Christmas and New Year's at home with the family, which they deserve. They have missed extremely little time, not just this year, but over the entire run of AEW's existence. So to send them home and let them catch their breath is not a bad thing. And I think that's probably what it is. The more intriguing part to me was Kenny's cryptic tease of, I'm going to go take care of something I probably should have taken care of a while ago. Huh. Now what might that be? What might that be? My guess is it's Josh Alexander, right? Because Josh Alexander took out Kota Ibushi and they did that whole thing, and we really haven't seen a lot of Josh Alexander since then. We even talked about it at Full Gear. Doug was like, man, I hope they capitalize on making him look like a killer, and I would argue they really haven't. And you didn't really settle that beef between him and Kenny. So, because really that match at Full Gear was more about the Bucks than it was about Kenny. So that's my guess, is that is what we're headed for. I don't know if they're going to put it on the World's End card, but they probably will, because we all know Tony Khan has to have 9 hours of wrestling on pay-per-views. So I guess we'll see if they make that match official. But that's right now what I'm thinking that cryptic tease is. However, we shall see. Then we got the Moxley promo, which was fine. I think it was really just a repackaged, re-edited version of the one he did last week. But okay, cool. He put the tournament over. I think the line at the end about he left everything out there. He's leaving everything out there is very telling. And I think where we're going to go with this is he's going to be exhausted, which makes sense. He's carried a huge load for more than a year now. I think that we're going with he's exhausted. He keeps tapping out to people. Does that feed the Death Riders breakup, or does it just give an excuse for him to take some time off? I don't know. I hope it feeds the breakup because I think that's the most logical and potentially most entertaining way to go with this. And it would give the Death Riders some new juice, and it would give Mox some new juice as well. But it might just be a way to get him off TV for a little bit. I think Saturday at World's End will be very telling. And again, we're gonna get to that here in just a minute. But then we got the main event of Pac versus Jungle Jack Perry. I like the storyline going into this of, Jack's got to have it. It's not even his fault because he inherited that Darby loss to Kevin Knight. But I knew it was. I mean, I knew it was going to be good, which is not being like, oh, look how smart I am. We all knew this was going to be good. The bulldog that Jack pulled on the outside on the floor was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And that got my match of the night, although it was challenged by that running DDT that Jack did, which I've never seen something like that before. Tony Schiavone said that too. I've never seen that before. That was incredible. So Jack pulling out the creative offense here tonight. Everyone being tied in the gold league. Jack goes over. He's got 6 points. Everybody in the gold has 6 points. I find that funny. And my question is, was that the plan all along, or did they realize, especially after they did what they did with Kevin Knight and Mike Bailey and Speedball Bailey to give them some star turns here in this tournament, did they realize they had the opportunity to have everybody at 6 points and go forward from there and, really put a lot of emphasis then on Collision, because I believe the Collision matches are all gold league. So it's going to determine, the semifinal participants from that. There might be one out of the blue league because, well, I guess there would have to be because we don't know who's joining Takeshita. But I thought that was interesting that they lined it up where everybody's got the same amount of points. So it does make Collision now very important. So I thought that was interesting. I thought Jack looked really good. Pac always looks good. So now we are on to World's End, where, like I said, I'll do some loose predictions here. I still don't feel great about trying to predict the main event, but I think our guy Big Z, I say guy, I don't know. I don't know how you identify Big Z, but I think Big Z may have talked me into Joe retaining and them spinning the other participants out into programs amongst themselves. If Max wins it, I do want to see Hangman and Swerve chase the tag belts. I just don't know who you then send at Max. I guess you run it back with Joe and you try to build somebody else in the meantime. I suppose that somebody would come out of the Don Callis family, although then that's a lot of heel on heel action. And I think it might be a little bit early to pull the trigger with Kyle Fletcher getting back in the scene, just because I think when he gets back into the world title scene, I think he should win it. And unless Ospreay is close to coming back, I don't know where we go from there if Max wins it. So with that in mind, I'm going to say Joe keeps it, and the three guys that are in the match with him they're going to figure out a way for one of them to chase for Revolution while the other two spin off probably into a feud with each other. So I'm going to go with Big Z on that one. The Continental Classic. Okay, so this is where I'm going to spoil Collision, and I'm just going to assume that you're not going to watch it because it's on Christmas night. If you don't want the spoilers, skip ahead. Or you know what? I wouldn't even blame you if you bail out now, because I'm just going to make the predictions and wrap it up. So we know the semifinal is almost exactly what Doug and I thought it would be. It's Moxley, Takeshita, Okada, and Kyle Fletcher. I'm sticking with my original prediction of I'm going to stick with Okada and Takeshita, although since I read the spoilers on Monday, I have talked myself into a couple different versions of this. None of them involve Jon Moxley in the final. And because I don't think that now means he's going to win it, right? But I don't think Moxley goes through. Because if I'm not mistaken, he takes on Takeshita, and I think Takeshita's going to go through. I think the only way he doesn't is if they figure out a way to have Okada screw him out of it. But given the rules of the Continental Classic, I don't think that's going to happen. So I think Takeshita is going to win clean. I think there's every chance in the world that Okada and Fletcher are going to go the distance, and they're going to have to go overtime. I think at that point, I think Okada's going to win. And the reason why I think that is, I'm like 1% leaning this way more than the other one I'm about to tell you. The reason I think that is because the Tokyo Dome is the other factor in this. Wrestle Kingdom looms. It's like, a week after World's End? Both of those guys are going to be there. Takeshita's the IWGP heavyweight champion. He's going to be there to defend. Okada is Tanahashi's last opponent. So they're both going to be there. I think this is going to spill into Wrestle Kingdom. I think what you're going to see is whoever wins the Continental Classic, and I honestly think it's 6-5 in Pick'em. I honestly don't know who wins it between Okada and Takeshita. I'm going to give a slight edge to Takeshita. And the reason why is I think that gives Okada incentive to then screw him out of the IWGP Championship at Wrestle Kingdom. And now we take that storyline and build to a proper match between the two of them. Not a classic match, but an actual proper match, possibly for the Continental Championship at Revolution. So right now I'm going to say Takeshita wins the tournament, and then Okada screws him at Wrestle Kingdom, and we build from there. However, like I said, I'm only 1%. I'm like 51-49% on this. I think it's just as easy of or makes just as much sense to have Fletcher win it all, to have him beat, I believe he would beat Okada, and then have Kyle Fletcher beat Takeshita in the final, because now you put a belt back on him, and you add the resume builder of he won the Continental Classic. And then you can have Kyle Fletcher go do Kyle Fletcher things with other people. And you can still have Okada screw Takeshita, because we've been building to that forever. You can still have him screw him over at Tokyo Dome and do all that other stuff I said. And it gives you champion Kyle Fletcher doing Kyle Fletcher things. Not that he needs to be a champion, but I think it would make some sense to have him carry the Continental title for a couple of months, and then have him get the world championship. And if Ospreay's ready to come back by All In, I think Ospreay finally gets crowned champion against his, at least in AEW arch nemesis. And I think that would make a lot of sense. Then again, I think if you just have Fletcher, even if he doesn't win the Continental Classic, I think if you give him a couple of weeks of wins and then have him chase whoever the champion is, and then he wins it, say in March he wins it, that would be fine too. So it's a real tough tournament for me to call. I'm going to slightly give the edge to Takeshita, but I won't be surprised. The only way I'm surprised is if Jon Moxley wins it all. That's the only way. I think he's going to lose. I think when he loses the semifinal match, I think the Death Riders come out, and I think the beatdown happens. And now we explore that story, and Don Callis' family continues to slowly implode. So that's my calls for the Continental Classic and for the World Championship match at World's End. Beyond that, of the ones that I know, I think Statlander probably retains, although at this point it might be a better move to put it on Jamie Hayter. I think that Babes of Wrath are going to retain. I think that Athena and Mercedes are going to implode. And Mercedes has been losing lately. If you haven't noticed, she lost in the UK. She's been losing. Like, we're starting to tell that story now, which was inevitable, right? So I think Statlander retains. I think Babes of Wrath retain. I think FTR probably holds on to the tag belts. against Bang Bang Gang, but we'll see if Jay White and Colton show up. And if they do, I still think there's a chance, especially if it's just Jay White, I still think there's a chance he turns on Juice and Austin. But so I'm going to say FTR retains there. I don't know what other matches are on the card. There's probably more, but I don't have it in front of me. And, well, there has to be more because there's no way that's 7 hours of wrestling. So, but those are the predictions I'm going to make right now. So with that, thank you for listening to a solo show. I know it's not as good when it's just one of us, but maybe it's better because Doug's not doing that weird bit where he talks to somebody off camera that isn't actually there. With that said, like, subscribe, share, follow us on social media. Like I said, the links are all in the description and the show notes. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful holiday. And we will see you back here on Sunday when the World's End recap episode drops.